Hello there, Comrades of the Kong, aka Nathan here. Gonna be doing the second part for the retrospective streams on the various NFL teams. Today we're gonna be going into the NFC, and then after we do our retrospective on each of them, we're gonna be going into playoff prediction talk. Got my handy dandy timer on my phone ready. 6 minutes. 6 minutes for each team. All 16 gonna be. Man, just like yesterday, there's gonna be some teams where I'm gonna be so sad about. Luckily, there's some I can be happy about in this conference as well. God. Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna have as much of a vitriol reaction to any of these teams as I did with some of the AFC teams though. So, oh yeah, we'll say like a bit of an update. Some things that's going to be brought up later on the stream as well is like learning that Mike Williams being out is wanting me to feel harsher on the Chargers for being dumb and playing their starters in a meaningless Week 18 game. But yeah, that's about it for that. There's not much of a recap. Just I was very happy about a couple of teams who made it into the playoffs there, and very down about teams like, two teams from the AFC South, for instance. But yeah, let's not worry too much about that. That's a different conference, so that's nothing to do with what we're talking about now. Instead, we're going to be going ahead and starting in the NFC North, and making our way alphabetically, just like yesterday, through all these divisions. Starting with the Chicago Bears. Oh, Bears. Man, ended up being as bad as I thought. Predict them to have a 3-14 record to be last in their division, get a top 5 draft pick out of that. And they did go 3-14, last in their division, and they actually ended up with the first overall pick, which they are going to trade away to either the Texans or the Colts. We all have to believe that's going to be happening. It's probably going to be Indianapolis because they can get even more out of them, and I guess the GMs know each other as well, or used to work with each other. The Bears had an over-under of 6.5 wins. They hit the under, alright. And I was able to guess 12 of their games correctly. Very easy to do when you have a lot of losses and they lose a lot, just like what I had with the Texans yesterday. And, yeah, things that kind of, happened for this team. Well, we're going to go ahead and start, like I like to do, start with the positives before going into the negatives. Justin Fields showed the upside he has. He's going to need he's still going to need some help when it comes to the passing side of things. Like, the offensive line wasn't really helping him. The wide receivers weren't great, but he, in 13 games, was able to nearly no, not 13 games. But yeah, he almost got Lamar Jackson's rushing yard record for a quarterback, and he might have gotten that if he played that last game of the season, but I don't think the Bears wanted him to play even if he was healthy, because they needed to make sure to lose that game for the chance they just got. But yeah, Justin Fields, he's someone that they need to work with, someone that they need to build around and not treat like trash. Otherwise, he's going to be another broken and tossed away quarterback that Chicago was used to. Because that team is just so horrible when it comes to quarterback luck, I guess. Or development. Yeah, I already mentioned, their offensive line wasn't... it just wasn't there. I don't know how else to say it. It left a lot to be desired. It wasn't really doing much for, the passing game, I felt like. The passing game also just struggled because they didn't really have. I guess Darnell Mooney's a nice wide receiver 2 or 3. So is Air Canada, better nickname for Chase Claypool. Yeah, like those two, neither of them are exactly the dominant receiver a young quarterback needs. Like, if Chicago were to decide to trade back into the teens, they need to worry about like a wide receiver they can get at that spot, whether it be JSN or why am I forgetting the TCU wide receiver's name? Oh, but yeah, like someone like that if they're able to, but I don't know. Probably be better for them to just try to stay within the top 5 for the draft. On the tight end side, Cole Kmet ended up being an actually reliable target for Fields, and like you can hope to see like that continue on next year as well as they both develop more. The defense as a whole for Chicago just needs work. Their defensive-minded head coach, who was brought in for that side, wasn't able to. Chicago's just full of holes. Their defensive line's pretty bad, and so are their defensive backs. It's a lot of like players that look like they'd be, well, not necessarily practice squad, but kind of like backups in a lot of other teams, which is part of. I mean, this team having a pretty bad roster is part of why they went with so many losses and why they need to build up themselves even more. Whatever they do in the draft, hopefully it's going to be spent more on the offensive or defensive line. Try to get help on both sides. That way you can like get that the base of your game kind of like boosted up. To kind of like get your floor even higher because you'll have like the talent there to keep a steady presence for the backfields. And the other things they need to do, like mentioned for the offseason, would be to continue to do whatever you can to develop Fields. Like, I know there's some talk about, like, Chicago might trade him away for some reason, but that's just nonsense. That's just stupid talk made for hot topic talking points to get people riled up on Twitter and Facebook and make them talk about, want to listen to the program more. Yeah, this is a roster that's not going to be playoff ready anytime soon by no means, unless like Fields ascends to like a Mahomes or Josh Allen level of play next year. But yeah, this team also has like the most cap space in the league at 115, nearly 116 million. So they have a lot of wiggle room to work with as well, and no veterans they really need to hold on to. So hey. Okay. Next up, I think my new favorite team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions, who are going to go ahead and chomp everyone's goddamn kneecaps off. Holy crap, was this team so fun. I predicted them to have an 8-9 record to go third in the division and be out of the playoffs. A bit close to that. They went 9-8, second in their division, but still out of the playoffs tragically. What a fun team. I was able to guess 11 of their games correctly, and they hit the over of 6.5 wins. And God, how can you not love this team? How can you not root for the Detroit Lions right now? Dan Campbell was... Listen, whatever, like, however you feel about his, like, rowdy, like, wrestler style kind of, like, speeches he would do, he really lit a fire under that team and got them extra motivated, made them so fun, so cool. Him and his offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, who probably gonna get a head coaching nod. I know he's been going into an interview for one, but don't think he gets a spot this year. But damn, yeah, they had a highly aggressive offense that was willing to go ahead and just take whatever dares they needed to do whatever was needed to win. And, the play calling also being so good on that side that it made Jared Goff look like he was in his best shape ever. Jamal Williams was another person you just want to root for. The post Week 18 game interview he had after like breaking the Barry Sanders touchdown total for the team, and like that whole that whole turn that was the interview of the year, post game interview of the year. Aiden Hutchinson, he was very much the player expected to be when he was drafted, and I don't think he wins it necessarily, but he's definitely going to be getting a lot of Defensive Rookie of the Year votes. I feel like that's going to be Sauce Gardner's award to lose, though. The wide receiver room also is fucking fantastic. Amon-Ra St. Brown, kind of like going into the season and looking like he ended up being a legit wide receiver for the team. He came in clutch, and I can't wait to see what he's going to be like next season, but even more for that room, can't wait to see what a healthy Jameson Williams is going to be like. That speedster who's going to just open up a whole new level for the team. Oh, that's going to be so cool. The offensive line was, I believe that turned out to be like pretty bad at the start of things, but ended up tightening up and becoming one of the best units in the league. The defensive line, a lot of players on the defense outside of Hutchinson didn't really seem to be too impressive at first, but I mean, the defense also started out like the first few games being historically terrible, but while it didn't end great by any stretch of the imagination, got more solid, and you got to see like players like defensive tackle Liam McNeil and the safety Kirby Josephs just kind of like come out of nowhere and ended up being like true legit, like maybe Pro Bowl level players. Maybe they get those nods next year as well. Like, there's so much talent on this team that not only got surprisingly like picked up in free agency well or drafted well, but also developed really well. Like, I'm very sure it feels like the coaching staff and the front office all know what they're doing. Like, this is not the same old Lions by any means. This is a legit, fun, and good group that's all been put together, and they're going to have a lot of great stuff they can do in the offseason to make it even better. I don't believe they... Oh, yeah, they have like a top 10, like the 10th most cap space in the league right now at nearly $18 million, and on the draft side of things, they got the Rams' 6th overall pick. Wouldn't expect that's at the beginning of the season. As well as their own pick at number 18, so they have a lot they're going to be able to do. If they want to go ahead and get their next quarterback now, they can do that, or they can kind of like build strong pieces all throughout, because they have excellent draft capital outside the first round as well. They can build as much depth as they need. They can fill in whatever holes exist right now. Like they maybe get another cornerback just in case. Yeah, you can never, like I said this yesterday, you can never have too many good cornerbacks. But yeah, damn. This is a team that, as Dan Campbell said at the end of Hard Knocks, was the team that can and will. And they did. They won the hearts of so many NFL fans. They made a fan out of me. Like this, I left my old team behind when they made a trade I didn't like at all. So hey, probably gonna be a fan of the Lions from now on. Just such a really fun team, and I'm not gonna be surprised at all if they win the division next year. Like, imagine if they made it to the playoffs now. God, that'd be so fun. Sorry, Seahawks. I also like your storyline. Oh. Alright. Oh, and now for a team that was mighty and has fallen. The Green Bay Packers. At the beginning of the season, I believed that they were going to end with a 13-4 record, win their division, and get the second seed in the playoffs. And instead, they went 8-9, became third in their division. and out of the playoffs, thanks to that Week 18 loss. Go Detroit. I was able to guess 11 of their games correctly, and the team went under the 10.5 expected wins by Vegas. And, like, Johnny, like, when we had, like, the season prediction stream months ago, was so much more on point with things than I was. Like the belief that the offense was going to kind of, like, stall out. Also was wrong about the defense. It should have been, like, in hindsight, it's like, oh yeah, I should have understood the defense wasn't actually going to be good. That dang, the defense also just let down. This just feels like a team ready to collapse into a pile of ashes right now. Okay, that's a bit hyperbolic, but still. Aaron Rodgers can go ahead and blame his wide receivers as much as he would like to, but it didn't look like it was just them running the wrong routes, buddy. Rodgers, you look like you were also just off yourself. Where was your arm strength? Where was your accuracy? Where was the touch people were used to you having with throwing the football? You look like you were already 1 foot out of retirement for most of the season. And, like, by all means, it's such a weird thing, but it's up in the air right. It feels like it's up in the air right now if he even returns to Green Bay or football as a whole. He might be legit done for all we know. Which just brings the question: do they have their quarterback for the future there? Because I don't know how they feel about Jordan Love either. They think he's good enough as a backup there, but they kind of screwed. That was a horrible pick to have in the first place. They picked him and ended up keeping Rodgers, so they couldn't have, like, Jordan Love on the rookie deal while he was still cheap. Like, he's cheaper than a normal quarterback now with a backup salary, but yeah, you shouldn't have picked Love at that spot, it turns out. You shouldn't have traded up for Love, it turns out. Maybe you'll... I guess he's probably going to be, like, their starter next year. That's my bet, at least. Dang. The offensive line for the team wasn't really that good, if I recall. Like, it kind of, like, broke apart, if I remember. Bakhtiari might be, like, getting close to retirement himself. I will admit, like, the wide receivers weren't always great either. It took a while for Christian Watson to become a surprise as an offensive weapon for the team. Romeo Doubs had some moments, but yeah, it wasn't like... But it also just didn't really feel like Devontae Adams' presence was going to make this team a Super Bowl contender. As weird as that kind of, like, feels, like, I don't think Adams would have been able to fix the offense. And on the defensive side, I've already mentioned how, like, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be at the beginning of the season. You had players like Jair Alexander kind of, like, take a step back from that elite level they used to show. The pass rush was... I don't remember how good that really was either. They didn't seem to be, like, stellar at that. And, like, Packers fans seem to be very upset with the defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, who is going to be returning next year, it looks like. Which I imagine Green Bay fans are ecstatic about. Yeah, man, this is just a weird team to think about. This is a team that went from having Super Bowl expectations to just being another has-been team. A team looking on the outside in. Looking from the outside inwards and just having a lot of questions. They don't have any clarity to their future at all. They have a horrible cap space situation right now. They're going to struggle to try to rework their contracts existing right now to keep themselves under the cap. Their draft capital isn't going to be amazing. they have a lot of holes that they need to fill, a lot of question marks that need to be answered, but they don't have a lot of leeway for this. They don't have a lot that they can work with to try to stay competitive next year. And looking at how the Lions are surging up, how the Vikings might have wild up and down years, and how the Bears might have a quarterback of the future themselves, there's a legit worry the Packers could become the worst team in their division in the next couple of years if they don't do something big this offseason. And now, for the largest question mark of the whole NFL, as far as if a team is good or not. We're not just talking about the conference. No, I'm legit confused about this team the most out of any. The Minnesota Vikings. At the beginning of the season, I predicted them to go with a 10-7 record to be second in their division and get the 6th seed. And that was kind of like a mixture of like being like, their offense could do enough. And like the rest of the NFC looks pretty bad. Right about that second one, at least. In actuality, they went 13-4, won their division, and got the 3rd seed in the playoffs. I was able to guess 11 of their games correctly, and they definitely hit the 9.5 over under, like the over for that. Just, want to know what happened with this team? Justin Jefferson happened. Like, they should not have the record they have. This is an awful team. Their defense is trash. They ended up with a negative scoring, point scoring differential, a -3 scoring differential, which compared to the Niners, who have a +173. How about compared to the Jags, who have a +54, the Lions, who have a +26, and then you look at the Jets with a -20. It's just, what is this team? They went 11-0 in one-score games, which sets an NFL record. That's not something that should be possible. It's not something that's repeatable. Like, this is a team that, by all means, should regress really fucking hard to the mean next year. This is a team that no one should have confidence in either in the playoffs or in the 2023 regular season. They made it work somehow, though. Justin Jefferson deserves to be MVP off of carrying this team to the record they have. Let him go ahead and do the gritty as he accepts this award. I don't care. MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, both of them for Jefferson. Like, I'd say this team should rightfully be balanced by the Giants in the opening weekend, like in the wild cards that are about to happen. But the Giants are their first opponent, and they got there with a -6 point differential, so it's like not like they're a stellar team either. I'll get to them in a few minutes, though. But yeah, well, I thought that what was needed for the Vikings to win would be that they get some luck and their offense is able to do enough. It turns out they needed a little bit of that, but also to watch the Packers just collapse and take advantage of the Lions having issues at the start of their season. Some other things from the team, TJ Hawkinson, who they traded for, looked like he was a big pickup, but maybe he still needs time to adjust to the team because it feels like he isn't doing as much. Maybe it's just because Jefferson is enough of a game changer on that team that TJ Hawkinson was actually a luxury they did not need at any point. The offensive line I don't remember that being that good either. Boy, it was able to do enough, but it wasn't able to help Dalvin Cook, who was such a hot or cold running back. You never knew if you're going to get a Dalvin Cook who could kind of like steamroll the other team and kind of like help maintain the lead that they have, or if he's going to be the Dalvin Cook that fumbles 3 times in the red zone or in other horrible spots. Kirk Cousins himself is the new Dalton line. He is the epitome of average as a quarterback. And on the they're stuck with him for another couple of years, by the way. Yeah, they need to have him next year as well because he has a cap hit of $36 million. But after that is when they're free to go ahead and get rid of him. They'll still take another cap hit for dead cap in the next couple of years after that, but it won't be that much. So maybe they go ahead and get themselves a QB to train up this year at whatever they pick late in the draft if they're able to. Maybe they worry about a veteran down the line, but their cap space ain't great. So yeah, this is just a poorly constructed roster. The defense is horrible. Like I said, there's just so many issues there, Pat. When you're not looking at Danielle Hunter or their safety. Oh, am I forgetting your name on top of my head? I forgot to note you down. Yeah, like I said, this is a team that should not last long in the playoffs. If they make it further than the divisional round, Jefferson is God himself at that point. Yeah, I don't know. This team's confusing. I don't know. They could go to the Super Bowl. They could win it. They can also get bounced in the wild card round. Who knows? They're highly volatile. I don't want to think about them too much more. Hey, thank you, timer. Alright, now we're going to be moving on to the NFC East. And we're going to be starting with America's team to hate. The Dallas Cowboys. At the beginning of the season, I predicted them to have a 9-8 record, to be second in the division and out of the playoffs. I was pretty down on them. I thought of them as just an okay team that was bound to just be a bunch of kind of nobodies bouncing around. And they won 12-5, second in their division and 5th seed, and still somehow finished the season like that, but also feeling like a team that's just okay, gonna get kind of they're just another weird team. I was able to guess 11 of their games correctly, and they hit the over of the 10.5 expected wins, which, hey, I guess that number wasn't as inflated as I thought in the prediction stream. This is a team that had plenty of ups and downs, and going into the playoffs in a very weird spot. Week 18 was bad. Dak looked awful. I don't know if it's just that the team didn't care and we're just kind of wanting to trudge along and forget that week, or what. Either way, it's so weird. It feels like if the Cowboys don't make it into the conference championship, that Mike McCarthy is fired. The defensive side, Micah Parsons started out the year very strong. He looked like the next coming of Lawrence Taylor. He was such a dominant force. And then just felt like he got quiet afterwards. He no longer looked... He wasn't getting the Defensive Player of the Year nods that he was getting at the beginning of the season. And on the other side of defense, a notable player there, Trevon Diggs. I still don't know if he's good or not. He has been a ball hawk, not to the same extreme level as he was last year, but he still gives up a lot of big plays, just as much as he tries to make one. Defense was... Yeah, the defense just kind of as a whole got pretty mediocre as the season went on. And on the offensive side, I feel like it's still clear that Tony Pollard is a better running back than Zeke at this point. Zeke would be lucky to have a starter job next season if he is out of Dallas. And the wide receivers, while they're not exactly bad, they could have used a wide receiver, like a primary receiver, a wide receiver one, such as, I don't know, an Amari Cooper, who they gave away for pennies, because Jerry Jones is apparently a moron when it comes to understanding how this stuff works. I mean, you also, like, I know about how, like, in the draft room, he openly shows the draft board, so every team in the league looks at that and is like, oh, so that's how they think about these players. Okay, so we'll know how to trick the Cowboys or kind of, like, work ourselves in front of them easily. He just does, Like, Dak himself had a lot of good moments, but a lot of bad ones. He's having an up and down season that we're used to for his career at this point, and I mean, offensive line was still good at least. You got that helping you. And Zach Martin got elected to the All-Pro like first team again, didn't he? Yeah, this is just a weird team. A team with a 12-5 record just feeling okay as they go into the playoffs. Their matchup going to be against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have a losing record. And you just don't know who is the better team. Maybe the Cowboys go ahead and fix themselves. Maybe they kind of like wake up from whatever slumber they had in week 18 and go ahead and actually make the tear that some people were hoping for them to be able to. Or maybe it's the same old Cowboys and they get lucky to go past the wild card round just to get destroyed in the divisional round. Hard to tell. In the offseason, this is a team that I have to imagine is going to be looking at like wide receiver and defensive line help, especially to get Micah Parsons, someone to help kind of like take some of the attention off of him. For the wide receiver, you have to imagine Jerry Jones is going to go ahead and want to do like an overreaction to being made fun of for the Amari Cooper trade, as well as feeling like the offense wasn't the high points he wanted it to be. Is going to go be like, we're going to go ahead and make a major swing for another team's wide receiver, or we're going to go ahead and draft one and they're going to be our new star kind of deal. But who knows how that turns out. This is a team that also, you're not really working with a lot of money, are you? Yeah, they got some money they can use in the free agency or like holding on to veterans, but they're not going to be making any major changes. They can still be competitive. They can still be like second or third next year in their division. Okay, went a few seconds over on accident. Okay. Moving on now to the G-Men, New York Giants. Hey, this is a team I'm going to go ahead and there's another one later in the stream, but this is a team where I'm gladly going to take the L. I predicted them to have a 3-14 record, to be last in their division, and have a top 5 draft pick as a result. And instead, they went to go 9-7-1, be third in their division, and have the 6th seed in the playoffs. I was able to guess 9 of their games correctly, and they got their 7.5 over. Yeah, this is a team I am glad to have been wrong about. Brian Daboll, boy, you deserve all the Coach of the Year awards you're going to be getting. What a fantastic job Daboll has done with this team. Daniel Jones went from looking like an obvious bust, like maybe he might be a journeyman backup at best. I mean, he probably might still have that career, but yeah, he was able to switch him around to at least play at an average level, have competent enough play going on. try to make him a little bit like a more mobile Josh Allen, which who knows how that helps Daniel Jones, because that ends up actually just being Cam Newton style play, which can get you out of the league faster from injuries and all that. But yeah, worked a lot of work there. The offensive line went from being awful to being really good, especially Andrew Thomas, who went from a bust to best left tackle in the league. What? According to like PFF's rankings, at least. The wide receivers, I mean, they weren't good especially when they ended with Darius Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins being their highlights. Tight end room wasn't amazing either, but it just shows what good coaching can do for a team. To go from the nightmare that was Joe Judge's awful coaching, making the team just look miserable, to being a playoff-ready team, to make everyone kind of like look renewed. Saquon Barkley going back into that rookie year form, at least for most of the season, making like so renewed and refreshed. Oh, on the defensive side, things were pretty well there as well. Like defensive line was pretty nice. The defense as a whole might have been average. Let's look at the. Do I have points per game set up here? Yeah, here we go. Where are you? Are you middle of the line? Yeah, you're middle of the line. Okay, so it wasn't exactly amazing. It wasn't a stout defense, but imagine this yesterday in the AFC thing. The stout defenses weren't exactly always good teams either. Yeah, this is a team, honestly, that has a fair shot at making it into the divisional round. It all depends on like what version of the Vikings they meet, by all means, but this is an amazing turnaround, and it's not just the coaching, by all means. It's the new GM they got, what's his name, Joe Cheyenne or something, from the Bills, who was worked in the Bills front office the year before. And this is a team that's not a world beater. Damn, are they better than expected. Damn, is this better than the Giants people have thought about in the last few years, in the last 5 or 6 years. This is a team that's also has like 56 million in cap space and has a good amount of draft capital working with them as well. They have lots of good pieces already set there. They can go ahead and make themselves even better next year. This is a team that I feel like is going to be second place in the division next year. If not, like, because of the weirdness of the NFC East, somehow win it instead. Like, I definitely have more confidence in the Giants than I do in the Cowboys. And a lot more in the team over by the Capitol. Yeah, this team should be very exciting next year. I mean, I have no idea what they necessarily do for quarterback going forward. I'm very sure they're going to go ahead and keep Daniel Jones for another year or two. They're going to try to work another contract with Saquon Barkley. I have to imagine like that stuff's going to be in the works, but yeah, this offseason, just kind of like worry about your wide receiver room. Go ahead and fill in some of the holes on defense, and just continue to fill out the depth. And yeah, you're going to be another playoff contender next year. Now, they did have an easier season, I believe. No, actually, they had the third toughest schedule in the league. Wow. Yeah, by opponents' winning percent, they had one of the toughest seasons in the league. Number 3, as their opponents had a winning percentage of .549. Wow. Okay. Congratulations. Oh, yeah, 54.9%. I mean, but congratulations, Giants. If you got a winning record with such a tough schedule, you actually legit should be better next year. Damn, I'm excited for the G-Men. Didn't think I'd say that. All right. Moving on now, we're going to go ahead and see the best team in the league right now. or at least in the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the shoulders for this one on how amazingly correct I was. Predicted them to go 14-3, win the division, and secure the first seed. In reality, they went 14-3, won their division, and secured the number 1 seed in the NFC. I only guessed 10 of the games correctly, but hey, I'm just glad about the first part. They had an over and under of 9.5 wins, which they definitely well hit the over for. Oh, am I smug about this one? While there are some teams where I was way off on, this one being spot on feels so good. But that's enough of boosting myself up for now. This team was able to go ahead and help Jalen Hurts develop even further by giving him even more great pieces around him. They have probably the best offensive and defensive lines in the league, which, as we should understand and expect from the Eagles, is not just full of great talent, but filled with good depth as well. The wide receiver room went from being good just by having Devontae Smith to being stellar by tricking the Titans into letting them have A.J. Brown, who was so good that it got the Titans GM fired after that game. After that Eagles-Titans game. Oh. Jeez, A.J. Brown's a grown man amongst children when he plays, it feels like sometimes. They had all these great pieces around, making the air side of the attack go ahead and be so much stronger, kind of like just adds this new dimension. Jalen Hurts' mobility himself and like getting enough of your running back room. All of these pieces made the Eagles' offense such a great work of art. The defensive side, I already talked about how great the defensive line is, but the defensive backs are really good as well with James Bradbury, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and Darius Slay all back there. Like, this is such a great and well-built team. The whole roster is stout and filled with exceptional talent. This is a team that is set up very well, not just to compete for the Super Bowl this year, but for the next couple of years as well. Like, with no real strong holes that can be identified past thinking that Hurts might regress, or might just go back to being how he looks in his rookie year. That this is a team that should win the NFC and has a good chance at winning the Super Bowl as well. But yeah, also congrats, all props to head coach Nick Sirianni, who probably going to be the Coach of the Year winner for getting this team to be the number 1 team in the NFC. And looked like the best team in the league for so long. Being the last... the Eagles were also the last team to lose a game. They looked like they had a legit chance at having a perfect season for a while. They got this bye week that's going to help them. Like, week 18 was a little weird and funky for them, so the rest getting themselves time to kind of like tune up and get their heads back in the game should help them out whenever they go ahead and face whichever is the bottom team that makes it out of the playoffs. And it's just, I don't know what else to say. Like, this is a team where I also don't really find anything negative to say about necessarily. Like, I can just nitpick and be like, okay, Jalen Hurts has some stuff he can still work on. The running backs ain't great. They fumble a bit too often. But it's like, on the other hand, this is still a very strong team that's capable of a lot. Like, I don't know what I'm not going to talk about what they're going to do in the offseason because their front office is so much smarter than I am. I'm very sure GMs as a whole, GMs as a whole are smarter than I am and better at this, which is why they have those jobs and I don't. Yeah, but yeah, like their front office has a lot of draft capital to work with, especially since they have the Saints pick, letting go number 10 overall as well as their own high-end first-round pick. So yeah, they have a lot of draft capital to work with. The team also has some salary cap space to work with. They have a little over 10 million. And yeah, like 14-3 with the toughest strength of schedule. A lot of good setup for them. They could be a dominant force in the NFC for years to come. Alright, and now we're going to be going into the last team for the division. Gotta try not to get too negative about them. The Washington Commanders. At the beginning of the season, I was sure they were going to go 14 and sorry, they were going to go 4-13, third in their division, and have a top 10 draft pick at the end of things. And instead, they have an 8-8-1 record, or last in their division and out of the playoffs. Was able to guess 10 of their games correctly, and they just went under the 7.5 expected win total. Starting off positive. Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry himself, is still an exceptionally good and overly underappreciated wide receiver. I don't know what he cannot catch. He is exceptional. Go Buckeyes, wide receiver you. Like, hey, he got that new contract, and he shows why he got it. He's capable. He's still really good. John Dotson, the rookie, showed some flashes. He was pretty nice, but yeah, I feel like that's about it I can say that's necessarily positive for the team. Is I like the wide receivers, especially Scary Terry. What an awful, awful decision was to trade for Carson Wentz. What did they think they were going to get? How are they so confident they were going to salvage something out of him? There was no reason to feel like they could have been the team to fix him, to make him look like the form that was against the Washington team of old back when Wentz was with the Eagles. I mean, the rest of the quarterbacks they had weren't great. They were meh at best. Taylor Heineke has some spunk in him, I guess, but he's not that good either. And Sam Howell, he only got the one game, and it's not like he looked amazing either. He just had some cool stuff himself. He just has better vibes, I guess, right now. But he might not be. It doesn't seem like the answer going forward as well for them. The offensive line was bad. I guess the defense was okay. Again, points per game aren't exactly mattering when you have the Denver Broncos being the best at that and them being one of the worst teams in the league. But yeah, Washington Commanders were able to finish 9th in points per game. Points per game allowed on defense. They just, I don't know. They really also need like Chase Young to just be able to stay healthy, be able to play a full season. He had issues again, and when he was able to play, he looked limited. He's not living up to the expectations from his draft, which is such a sad thing to think about. It's just also week 17 after that loss. Uh, just made like Ron Rivera look bad. Well, even worse because he admitted to not understanding that Washington would have been out of the playoffs with that loss. He is definitely entering the 2023 season on the hot seat and has a severe risk of being fired mid-season. The team just filled a lot of around is the best way to describe things. Well, the best way I can, at least. There's just not a lot to be excited about. You don't know what answer they necessarily have at wide receiver going forward. They seem to be a team that has good players that are gonna have a career that goes nowhere because they're gonna be stuck on a team that's stuck in the mud themselves, unless they find a way to go elsewhere and excel there instead. The cap space situation for this team is... Where are you on here? Okay, they have some, but it's not amazing as well. You can't really talk about this team, though, honestly, without talking about the controversies either, and at this point, they might need a new... No, they do need a new owner. That's not going to be enough by any stretch of the imagination to change the team into a winning one. Dan Snyder is not a good owner for them. Most owners are pretty bad, but Dan Snyder sucks. What an awful human being he turns out to be as well. But I don't know. Is there anything good to say about Washington going forward? Is this a team that anyone should rightfully care about? This is a team that looks like it's going to be bottom of their division for the next decade at this point. Bye, Washington. Thanks for competing. Alright, we're halfway through the NFC now, so I'll go ahead and take a small break. See you in a little bit, YouTube. Alright, YouTube. Back from the break right now. And we're moving on to the NFC South. Can I just bring this down to 3 minutes? No. I swore I'd stay to 6 minutes. Even if I don't want to talk about this division and feel like it should be jettisoned to the sun. Be brave. Be strong for Mother Clemens. Alright, the Atlanta Falcons are a team that exists within Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you for this TED Talk. No, but really, at the beginning of the season, I was not high on this team at all. Ooh. I predicted them to go 2-15, to be last in their division and have the first overall pick. And instead, they went 7-10. Became last in their division and had a top 10 draft pick. Where's exactly? Number 8. I was able to guess 10 of the games correctly. I guessed 10 of their losses correctly. But yeah, they also managed to hit the over for the 4.5 wins expected. So hey, good job on that part, Atlanta. Oh, is this a team that's still trying to rebuild after their Super Bowl loss all those 28-3 years ago? I mean, all those years ago. It's... I guess on the positives, Cordero Patterson and Tyler Algier were surprisingly good as running backs, but a lot of that was thanks to the help they got from an offensive line that went from being trash to being actually pretty good. Like, I believe, was it Lindstrom ended up being like the highest rated offensive lineman, if not the highest rated player in the league by PFF. Which is such a surprise and goes to show how much coaching goes into affecting like offensive line and making that good or bad. So that's a plus for the team, a plus for Arthur Smith, or at least for their offensive coordinator. Kyle Pitts and Drake London look fantastic together. Like, Kyle Pitts, he's not exactly going to be their blocking tight end, which he was never drafted to be anyways. Like, if they get things into place properly with a QB they can feel good about going forward, this is a team that's going to have a very powerful offense that's going to go ahead and drag their rest of the team along, despite the fact that their defense probably needs a lot of help too, and is going to be having a lot of question marks going forward, considering that I believe they're losing their best player there. Oh, why did I not write your name down in the notes as well? This is early on, but when I was worse at taking these notes. Okay, defensive tackle is... Okay, let's look at the depth chart here. Yeah, Grady Jarrett. Yeah, they're going to be losing Grady Jarrett, I believe, in the offseason, which is going to be a huge blow to their pass rush. It's, and their defense as a whole. Like, the quarterback, too, as much as I wanted to root for Ritter, he wasn't that good when he played. Maybe they'll have him along next season as well and see if they can get any improvements out of him, but yeah, Ritter wasn't showing enough to make him like a for sure lock to keep as anything other than a backup or emergency player. I don't know. This is a team that kind of like looked like they had a lot of good things going for them for some time, but I don't know. They coached themselves up into a 7-win record at least. They looked better than expected, but with all the holes they have, all the question marks left in place, it's still difficult to think of this as a team that's going to be truly competitive, and the only saving grace they have is that their division is terrible as a whole. Every team in the NFC South has a question mark about quarterback. No one has anyone locked into that spot as of this moment. And I'm including the Buccaneers, who aren't, because Brady is gone after this year. After they lose in the playoffs. That's a topic for a little bit later. Well, but yeah. They have some draft couple they can work with. The team kind of like probably got like some help from having a pretty from having the easiest schedule in the league, so that probably helped with a lot of their wins as well. Now, what was their point differential? Let's look that up as well. It was minus 21. That feels right. That feels like in place for a 7-win team, honestly. Their cap space is pretty good. They have the third most cap space at about $52.5 million. Closer to $56 million if you look at some weirdness with how contracts work, but yeah, like they can still work around some pieces. They can definitely make improvements for next year, and if they have the right QB in place, maybe win the division. Who knows? I'm not going to make any sure bets on this division next year. Definitely not at this point. I need to see how things are going to go, but I don't know. This team would be last place in a lot of other divisions. Alright. Man, I don't have a lot set up for a lot of notes for most of the NFC South teams, turns out. Okay, hey, let's move on to the Carolina Panthers now. Another team I wasn't exactly high on at the beginning of the season. I predicted that they would go 4-13, be third in their division, have a top 10 draft pick. Instead, they're another NFC South team that went 7-10, but they ended up second in their division and out of the playoffs. And they also have the number 11 pick overall. They're also just barely out of the playoffs, because if they beat the Buccaneers that last game, they would have won the division instead. It just shows how bad the division is. But yeah, I was able to guess 9 of their games correctly, and this team just hit the over for the 6.5 Vegas predictions. If we're gonna talk about the good, it's only on the defense. The defense was pretty good. I like the defense. It was very strong, and it just looked like it got even better after Steve Wilkes took the interim position after they fired their previous head coach, who, in hindsight, should never have gotten an NFL job. He managed to get a one-year wonder kind of year out of a team in college, and was immediately made an NFL head coach, seen as the prize to chase after by multiple NFL teams. Yeah, maybe Matt Campbell wasn't the answer after all. Yeah, now they find themselves looking for another head coach going into the offseason. I personally would like to see Steve Wilkes stay, because he made the team competitive. They looked like they were an awful team at the beginning of the year, but they actually became competitive, and like a team to actually give at least some care about later on. The running back room looked like it was going to be awful after CMC got traded away to the Niners, but it actually stayed pretty strong. They even had an NFL record that during the Lions game. Yeah, the Lions game, the running back by committee approach was pretty good. The wide receiver room it had good stuff, but it wasn't stellar. Maybe that was because the QB play wasn't good, though. Starting off with Baker Mayfield, who was their QB1 at the start, before he showed why he might not be. I was going to go into another team later on, but showed why he might not be an NFL starter on any level going forward. And then they had it went through multiple players as well, just to end up with Sam Darnold again, who flashed, but he should not feel secure about holding on to his job next year as well. If this team has what's their salary cap space? I guess if they have a good amount, they can try to bring in a veteran to help them out, because they desperately need someone that they desperately need a lot of help there. If they have a good quarterback, if they have a competent quarterback like a Derek Carr, then yeah, this is a team that could actually definitely win should have a good shot of winning their division next year. But I'm not going to hold on to any bets right now with them. Alright, I'm struggling to see where they are on spot rack right now for the cap situation. Okay, they're and the negatives. Okay, so they're not getting a veteran, and they're in a tough spot to draft one right now as well. Oh, they're not 11th overall pick, they're 9th overall. Okay, so maybe they get one. They might have to trade up for one if they try to get one. Who knows? But yeah, I'd like to see them work on their receiver room. Man, this is a very common thing for me to say. I'd like to see them work on their receiver room and their offensive line in the offseason, but most importantly, they just need a quarterback answer. They need to be able to show that they have something there. Otherwise, they're just going to go back into being a team to forget about. Just a team that exists themselves. It would be, I don't think they can necessarily go wrong anywhere on a head coach, and hey, there's no way they're getting Sean Payton, because Payton's going to have to be traded, and I don't think the Saints want to trade him to Carolina. That'd just be a weird meetup every now and then, those 2 games a year. I don't know, but yeah, I feel the best about this team going forward out of any team in the NFC South. But that doesn't mean I feel confident. I don't think this is a team that, if they do win their division next year, will go ahead into a deep playoff run. it just doesn't feel like they're set up for that right now. They're going to struggle to rebuild in all the places they need unless they're very smart about that. And I don't really know enough about the front office to determine how possible that's going to be. This is, I don't know. They're also a weird team because their new stadium situation or new practice facility situation, no one knows if that's actually getting done or not. Just another question mark team. All right. Next up, we're heading down to the bayou. Gonna get ourselves some crawdads. Wait, did you say crawdads, crayfish, or craydads, or something else over there? I don't know. The Nyland Science. What a great accent that was. I just tried to do. So spot on. Anywho, I predicted this team to end up going 7-10 and be second in the division with the number 10 overall pick going to the Eagles because of, I forget what the trade necessarily was for at this point. It just seems stupid. It probably was stupid when it happened too, but hey. Actuality, the third team in the NFC South to go 7-10, which got them third in their division, and handed the number 10 overall pick they would have had to the Philadelphia Eagles. Hey, I was kind of right about this team as well, even though I only guessed 6 of their games correctly. Yeah. They had an 8.5 over-under. They hit the under. And let me just say it. This is a team full of issues as well. Surprise, surprise. What a weird thing to say about the NFC South. I don't know. If you want to talk about the good for this team, it's Chris Olave. He is one of the strong candidates for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I'm not giving the benefits of the Saints on that at all. Olave was able to get like over 1,000 receiving yards, but that was an opportunity given to him, not because of the talent which he has. He is one of my favorites for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Like, on the offense side, it's between him and Garrett Wilson as far as I'm concerned. Go Buckeyes. But the team would have hidden him in the shadows if it weren't for Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry getting hurt early on. When they got hurt, they felt forced to play Olave, and even then, they felt reluctant to do anything with him for way too long. This is a team that tried to make Taysom Hill an actual real weapon on their offense, even though it just made their offense so one-dimensional. When it was Andy Dalton on the field, I was like, a good chance that they were going to be going ahead for a passing play, so teams would get set up for that. And when Taysom Hill was on the field, teams were like, oh yeah, he's never going to throw, and he's awful at it anyways. So we're going to just go ahead and load the box up because we know this is going to be him trying to run. And hey, trying to make Hill your primary weapon made them awful for so long. They were unwatchable. This is a team if you watch the game when I watch the game of theirs, I just want to tear my hair out because of how dumb they were playing. Their offensive line's pretty bad. It's full of like a lot of issues. They don't have any depth. Their starters aren't that good either. Well, they have like a lot of question marks for players. They don't even know if they're going to be returning or if they actually should bother keeping going forward. Michael Thomas still had another injury-plagued season. Alvin Kamara probably isn't a good running back. He has... Hey Brian, thanks for the oof. Yeah, oof indeed though. But Alvin Kamara was... maybe a lot of the issues they had on offense were a mixture of like not having a good offensive coordinator. Maybe it was not having a good offensive line. Maybe a lot of it was just missing Sean Payton, who I have to imagine isn't returning to the Saints next year either. Like their interim head coach that they turn into, not interim head coach, their defense coordinator of last year, who they made their head coach, doesn't seem like he was ready for the job at any level. He wasn't helping this team. He was putting them in a bind more often than not. It felt like, I mean, it's not like their defense was even that good. Oh, so I know the defense was still somehow a top 10 unit. Never mind. Never mind. I'm just probably projecting my own thoughts onto that right now, but man, this is headache of a team. They're also in salary cap hell right now, but they're the Saints, so they're gonna somehow rework some things. But as we saw last year, going into the 2022 season, something I made sure to talk about in the predictions is that when they made those restructures before, they had to lose some quality depth pieces as well as some starters, and you can see how that affected them this year. It definitely made some things worse for them, and they have horrible draft capital and a horrible salary situation going on. They cannot rebuild or restructure. They're a team that's collapsing, and they're about to pay for pushing their loans further. Just like anyone who's taken out a major loan before and never made the proper payments. The credit companies, the loan sharks, are about to come knocking at their door, and it's going to be an ugly, ugly sight for the Saints when that happens. Nolans. Sorry, that was make up for the 4 extra seconds I had and just didn't use. Mardi Gras. Okay. Now for the last team in the NFC South. The winners of the division, despite having a losing record, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the season predictions, I believe that they were going to have a 12-5 record to win the division and have the 4th seed in the playoffs. Got 2 of those correct. They went 8-9 to win their division and be the 4th seed in the playoffs. One of the few teams in NFL history to have a losing record, but not only win their division, but make it into the playoffs. I was able to guess 11 of their games correctly, and this team disappointed for sure. They had an 11.5 over/under and were one of the had like one of the highest expectations to make it to the Super Bowl. Like Vegas lines were like very high on the Buccaneers, kind of like heading over there, thanks to the Brady effect. But hey, want to know something? While Father Time hasn't necessarily fully caught up on Tom at this point, because he still played well when he was allowed to play, the coaching change was dreadful for them. They went from a coach who knows what he's doing and calls a good offense to Todd Bowles as head coach and Byron Leftwich as offensive coordinator, which was a steep drop in coach like quality right there. Those two are probably gone after they lose in the playoffs. No one should. I don't think either of them are going to get a job in their respective positions ever again after how they ruined the Buccaneers. Now, Tom Brady wasn't exactly what he looked like a couple of years ago. He's 45 years old, but still playing at a better level. He still looks like an above-average quarterback, I say, and like, I don't know. I just feel like the bigger issue on the offense wasn't Tom Brady, but more that with an offensive line that can't open up holes and with running backs that aren't exactly stellar or play calls that weren't great, the team tried, Byron Leftwich kept calling for horrible run after horrible run, which kept putting the team in a bind, where after they kind of like get like 2 or maybe even negative yards total on the first 2 downs, they're like, Tom Brady, save us a 3rd down. And that's going to always be hard on any quarterback. No quarterback in the league finds it consistently easy to get a 1st down on 3rd and long. But Byron Leftwich is a complete inept moron when it comes to calling plays, it feels like. He does not understand the modern NFL, nor does he understand his own players. How do you not know Tom Brady linking up with Mike Evans is a phenomenal thing? Why? How do you not go out of seeing like your hurry-up offense go ahead and just tear through a field? How do you not notice like Brady and Evans, or Brady and some other member of like that really good wide receiver group go ahead and make a good play consistent, much more consistently than your running game's able to do? How do you witness that and decide, let's run the ball as our major thing? Establishing the run is an archaic concept that was never real. But they went on with it anyways, and they're gonna be lucky they're just lucky they faced Dallas in the wild card, because that's the only team in there that they have a shot against. And even then, I don't believe in the Bucs that much. The defense was okay. It did what it needed to. But I don't know. And I believed in Todd Bowles at the beginning of the season, by the way. I did think that because the reins were handed off to him, and that he was, like, in press conferences, trusted and told that he was going to be someone viable and can do good work. I was like, oh yeah, I'll go ahead and believe in this. I'll believe that Todd Bowles is going to be better than his New York Jets days. And God, was he possibly even worse. He's just another person who's a better coordinator than a coach, it turns out. I mean, this is also a team that's set up in, like, salary cap hell. They have the 2nd least amount of salary cap space. The only one with less space than them are the Saints. The Buccaneers have negative $43 million. They have horrible draft situation going on right now. They don't really have anything to work with. This is a team that feels like it's ready to collapse, if it hasn't already begun doing so. They only won their division because they were in the NFC South. And when Brady's gone, it doesn't... Oh, they'll be left with no answer at quarterback and no way to fix that. They'll be stuck in purgatory for the next 2 or 3 years at least. Alright, and that is the NFC South. Thank God we made it out of that. I feel like I need a drink after talking about them. A strong drink. But no, we're moving on to the NFC West instead, which is a team of highs and... Oh, sorry, not a team. A division of highs and lows. Let's start with the Arizona Cardinals. A team that at the beginning of the year, beginning of the season, I believed was going to go 9-8 to be 3rd in the division and have the 7th seed in the playoffs. In actuality, they went 4-13, last in their division, and they have the 3rd overall pick thanks to that, which is going to be either Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. That should be obvious. If they don't pick any of those two, then I'll be astonished. But yeah, I was able to guess 9 of their games correctly, and I didn't catch their over and under. But they definitely hit the under. I know that for sure. There is nothing positive to say about this team, honestly. Everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong for them. The obvious rift that existed between Kingsbury and Murray. Yeah, that came out mid-season, and yeah, it should have been to no one's surprise that Kingsbury was going to get fired, which he did earlier in the week. And their GM left for health reasons. Take from that what you will. Especially after some controversies that were going around him at the same time. Oh, here's the over-under was 8.5 wins. Ooh, boy. The offense just completely stalled out for them. They had, even with DeAndre Hopkins out for half the season, they had what should have been at least a good wide receiver room. But that didn't really do anything for them. Hopkins, when he got back, wasn't able to change the game for them too much, despite still playing at a pretty high level. But Hopkins is also going to be in, like, the overside of his 30 years. Oh, he's going to be past that 30-year plane, where wide receivers have their drop-off, typically. And, yeah, who knows what he's going to be like going forward. The tight end room is whatever. The offensive line was pretty bad. They really need to work on that going forward. There's just so many issues there, and I don't know what necessarily gets fixed. The only thing you know about that is that Kyler Murray is going to be there next year, it feels like. And I don't know much about Murray, because the whole offseason already made him look like he was going to be a diva of a player. And, like, the whole contract thing about, like, needing to make sure that he pays attention to tape made him look bad, and then the season happened. And, the retrospective, it's going pretty well. We're nearing the end of this part. Gonna go prediction soon. But, I don't know. I think Murray might just be an average quarterback. I don't think, it doesn't look like at this point that he's going to be getting a third contract. Well, he might. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if he does, but he might just kind of like wash himself out of the league. He just makes himself look worse by losing after the weird offseason he had, but that's not necessarily his fault there. It's just like maybe the negativity that comes around Murray is only enhanced because of the losing season. Maybe if it was a winning season, and all this would have been brushed aside and like just treated like as a joke. But man, it just ended up making it look like he really is just unfocused and undisciplined. Doesn't really give a shit. I feel like the most notable thing for this team was J.J. Watt retiring while still looking like he can play some more seasons. He ended his last game as a starter, his last game in the league. He's got like 2 sacks. He ended up on a high note, and feel really good for that first ballot Hall of Famer. One of the few players to have won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards. One of 2, I believe, that won back-to-back of that as well, but that was in his Texans years. Yeah, this is a team that's going to the offseason having to take a hard look in the mirror as a whole. There are so many question marks here. No one knows what to make of anything. The salary situation is... Where are you, Arizona? Oh, okay. Yeah, the salary situation's not bad at all. It's kind of good. They have a little over $16 million to work with, and they do have some draft capital to work with, but it's, with what they need to get fixed, it's not necessarily looking like they're going to be a playoff caliber team next year unless the NFC stays weak. Maybe their best bet's on becoming a competitor again to be another good team is to move to the NFC South somehow. Switch places with one of those teams, and you'll go into the playoffs for sure next year. Yeah, other than that, I don't know. Maybe they can also try to work Kyler Murray out of not spending so much time on Call of Duty. Maybe that's what they need. I don't know. Just a lot of sadness for them. Speaking of sad NFC West teams, let's move to the Los Angeles Rams now. See that slump? Isn't that kind of like the season they had? They went from winning the Super Bowl to going 5-12 to be third in their division, and what would have been the 6th overall pick, they gave away to the Lions. Holy fuck. The way I predicted them to go 13-4 to win their division and go have the 3rd seed, I believe in those prediction streams, I was also sure that they would have gone ahead and gone to the Super Bowl again for a Battle of LA, but no, they decided to go ahead and reap the benefits of, reap what they sowed before. It wasn't the benefits by any means either. If it was the benefits, they would have been a winning team. They would have been a team people would actually care about instead of such a god-awful mess. I got 8 of their games correctly for what it's worth, and wow, they hit the under of the 10.5 expected wins for them. Hey, if anyone wants to redeem an oof, now is a good moment for an oof. Wow, what the... A Super Bowl hangover typically is for the team that loses. The team that lost the Super Bowl looks even stronger this year. The team that won looks like the one that got lost and confused afterwards. It's not a hangover. It is a complete and utter collapse. I hate that I'm talking and moving like one of those people you see on SportsCenter or whatever that's only about like hyperbole and hot takes. But this team is just so frustrating. Hey, as it turns out, mortgaging your future by spending all of your draft capital and so much of your cap space on stars in hopes of having like these 3 or 4 star players to push you forward while you don't worry about the depth will bite you in the ass. It will take a huge chunk of your cheek out. It'll be like Jaws just going right after your sphincter kind of situation. They had great players still, but there was nothing behind them. When they lost Stafford, who was looking not good, they had no answer. They had to turn to Baker Mayfield, who shouldn't be an NFL starter going into the future with how bad he played as well. Their offensive line, which they should have made sure to go ahead and worry about beforehand, was awful. It couldn't protect anyone, which is probably part of why Stafford got worse, because he didn't have his perfect surroundings anymore. But yeah, the line collapsed. The defensive line wasn't great either. Aaron Donald looked human again. Like he... is he retiring? I don't know. I haven't heard any rumors or any word that he's thinking about it. But what happened with him? It doesn't feel like he was the same old Aaron Donald we're used to. Oh, for the wide receiver room, by the way. Hey, another issue where no depth meant another collapse. When Cooper Kupp went out with injury, the whole offense just took a nosedive with them. There was not a whole lot that was exciting about this team. It's just... I don't know. I guess they have the... maybe good news of Sean McVay just not taking the break he was thinking about taking. Like, he announced, was it earlier today or yesterday that he was going to go ahead... it was earlier today that he announced that he was going to be staying next year after all and not going to be taking the break. The Sean Payton style break. And, just the front office might need to have a hard look at. They left themselves with nothing to work with going forward. So all they can do is think about the one Lombardi they won as everything just erodes around them. They were able to hoist the trophy up high in SoFi Stadium, but the walls are tumbling around them. The earth is beginning to swallow from underfoot. All as they hold on to this one shining glory. And they have to ask themselves if it's all worth that one moment. I can't see this team turning things around next year. They could be a 7-win team next year, maybe. Maybe they... I don't know. Oh, that's enough sadness about teams, because there's only joy left now for these final two that we have to talk about. We're going to be moving on to the Bay Area now, with the Kyle Shanahan 49ers. I mean the San Francisco 49ers. At the beginning of the season, I predicted that they would go 12-5 to be second in their division and secure the 5th seed. Well, in actuality, they went even better, 13-4 to win their division and have the 2nd seed, with the threat of actually being able to get the 1st seed overall. I was able to guess 12 of their games correctly, and damn, did they hit the 9.5 over. Now, I wasn't necessarily right about why I thought they would get this way. I was sad to see Trey Lance go down with injuries so early on in the season. That, in a way, that just feels like a very 49ers fashion at this point. They need a new conditioning coach, maybe, because why is everyone's knee and ankle just exploding in San Francisco? What the hell is going on over there? But yeah, Trey Lance, I thought he looked pretty nice when he was starting. I had no idea at that point how much was the Shanahan influence and how much was Trey Lance's natural talent and abilities. And like any coaching that went into that mixed in. But yeah, when he went down, things looked pretty sad for a bit. But Jimmy Garoppolo, was able to manage things enough to keep things floating by for a bit. But eventually, even he went down with injury. And things looked even sadder for San Francisco, as if they were going to blow their shot at the playoffs. And then the last pick in the 2022 draft, Mr. Irrelevant himself, Brock Purdy, came alive. A quarterback who was never supposed to play, third stringer, and going into what I joked about in the prediction stream, that Shanahan feels like he can pick any like practice squad quarterback and make a winner out of them. Brock Purdy was able to do enough plays and have enough spice in his own style to keep the 49ers not just a winning team, but electric. Make them look like one of the best teams in the league going forward. The trade for a CMC really helped them as well. Like, he added an even higher level to their offense. If I'm gonna nitpick anything on their offense, it's gonna be that they took too long to remember that George Kittle is not just a really good blocking tight end, but is one of the best pass-catching tight ends in the league as well. I don't know why they keep forgetting about that aspect of him. Deebo Samuel was still one of the best weapons in the league until he got injured, but he's going to be back for the playoffs himself, so I expect some electricity on that side as well. And the defense is spectacular, headlined by likely Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa. Like, this is a team that's just well-rounded, and like them and the Eagles are the only two teams I feel like have a shot at going to or winning the Super Bowl from the NFC side of things. Uh, you should also expect them to lose some coaches or front office members in the offseason to the vacancies that they have right now, but I believe as long as Kyle Shanahan is there, they can probably still be a team ready to win the division and make a deep run in the playoffs. The only limiting factor to them is their health. And again, what is wrong with their conditioning? Who do they need a new strength and conditioning coach? Do they need like someone to go ahead and throw some purifying salt at the place or do an exorcism? What is wrong with things there? I don't mean to take it so like jokingly, but it's just such a weird thing that time and time again you just keep on hearing about like a 49er player having an MCL or ACL injury that takes him out for like a huge amount of time. Like, I mean, when Deebo Samuel went down and like it was like obvious, it looked obviously like a knee injury. It was like, well, that's MCL for sure, knowing the 49ers. Hey, luckily it was just a sprain. But yeah, beyond that, the other limiting factor would be like you never know like what Kyle Shanahan's gonna make, decision he's gonna make for like the head coach side of things, like not just the play calling, because he is spectacular at play calling. He just is weirdly conservative about some of the calls. He doesn't like to take the risk on fourth down as much as you would imagine he would, especially with how good his offense is. He's weird about his timeouts. He's weird about challenges. Like, that stuff he's weird about, but hey, he's able to win a lot of games still. He's able to make this team. He's going to deserve some Coach of the Year votes himself because he took his practice squad quarterback and is threatening to make a Super Bowl run with him. It's a very good team, a very fun team, and probably going to be the best team in the division for the next 7 years. Alright. And now we move on to our final team to give a retrospective about. One of the other pleasant surprises of the year. Oh, was this a team I'm gonna gladly take another L about when it comes to my predictions. The Seattle Seahawks, the Fighting Geno Smiths. At the beginning of the season, I predicted that they would go 2-15 to be last in their division and have the second overall pick in the draft as a result. Instead, they said fuck you to the NFL world as they went 9-8 to be second in the division and make it into the playoffs thanks to the Lions beating the Packers. And yeah, I was able to guess 9 of their games correctly. Oh man. I'm happy about this team. I'm happy. I'm happy to have been so wrong about them. If you want to talk, there's a lot of good things to talk about them, so I'm also happy about that spot. They vastly outperformed expectations. I don't know anyone who expected them to be a playoff caliber team. Like, I'm sure everyone, not just myself, was killing Pete Carroll for trading away Russell Wilson. Was like, oh, why are you acting like you're going to be a team that can make it into the playoffs with this roster looks so horrible and couldn't really do much with Russell here either. And you end up at this point with the whole question, was Russ the problem all along? Pete Carroll and company really do seem to know what they're doing? But yet, like, Geno Smith was one of the best quarterbacks in the league this season. He has floaters that astonish. Such amazing dimes of throws. He's just really goddamn good and fun to watch. I mean, I'm sure he's being helped by having like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett to be is extremely good and highly reliable targets. But yeah, Geno's making plays on his own. I'm also surprised and glad that Pete Carroll wasn't demanding the running game to be the dominant force that they went with. Even though Kenneth Walker was actually a pretty good running back when he was given a shot, and might get a couple Offensive Rookie of the Year votes himself, but isn't likely to win. The offensive line was holding up well enough, even though they can still use some improvements there, like every team could, honestly. Oh, most teams could, honestly. But yeah, I mean, going from laughing about Geno being the quarterback that they were likely to go with to being like, how do they bring him back? Is it a franchise tag, or do they give him like an actual contract extension? Just a very great thing all around. The defense, by the way, has for the most part been pretty bad, but there are bright spots there, with the big one being Tariq Woolen, their rookie cornerback, who ended up being one of the best ball hawks in the league this season, and is going to be another cornerback getting some Rookie of the Year votes. Obviously going to be behind Sauce Gardner, but most years would probably actually end up higher on the list than he will. But yeah, like, there's not really too much else to say. It's just, damn, so happy about them. So happy to be so wrong. Even though they are going to get walled by the 49ers in the wild card. Oh, probably will. Hey, let's get to that in a few minutes, though. But yeah, if you want to talk about other things they can do in the offseason, like, Geno's really the big one for them. When it comes to salary space, ooh, where do you lie? Are you actually pretty low or high, Seahawks? Oh, yeah, you're high. The 5th most cap space in the league right now with about $47.5 million. So you have a lot of leverage. You can definitely keep Geno if you want to. You can bring in some other free agents. This is going to be a fun team that players actually will want to go to as well, so that helps out. They have really good draft capital thanks to the trade with Denver, giving the 5th overall pick, as well as wherever they land the first round with their own. Like, they can really get themselves to improve even further. It'll be tough to see them as the winner of their division, unless the 49ers that have another horrible luck with injury. But yeah, I'm thrilled and excited with them. Their rebuild / restructure went extremely smoothly for them. Pete Carroll looks really good. I apologize to him. Sorry, Pete Carroll, for being so down on you and for doubting your judgment. What was wrong with Russell Wilson, though? Why? You just look even smarter trading him away with how bad he looks in Denver and how good this team looked without him. I'm so excited for this team. I don't believe in them making a deep playoff run, but they're going to be a fun... I'm hoping they'll be a fun team again next year as well. And congratulations on getting to beat up on a possible bad Rams team and a likely bad Cardinals team. Congratulations, Seattle. Sadness ain't raining down on you anymore. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take another break right now as we're done with the retrospective before we move into the playoff preview or predictions. So, see you in a couple YouTube, and for the stream, see you all in a little bit as well. Welcome back, YouTube. Alright, so for the playoffs right now, not the NFC side, the AFC side, we have the first round of things will be the... Why is it like this? You have the Bills versus the Dolphins, the Bengals versus the Rams, and the Jaguars Jaguars versus the Chargers. God damn it! Why do I keep wanting to say it like that? But yeah, Spotify, are you playing? Hold on a sec, YouTube. I'll be back in a little bit of. Okay, sorry, YouTube. Tried to fix Spotify, but I guess it's down at this point because it's not working. So we'll be going ahead and looking at the playoff previews or predictions as we go about them right now. Just no music, kind of like behind. So for the first matchup we're going to be covering will be the Dolphins versus the Bills, our second seed versus our seventh seed. The Bills are a team that looked like that had a great shots at having the first seed overall for the playoffs, and are a team that's not only great but getting healthier at the right time as well. Ready to go ahead and make their deep playoff push. Whereas the Dolphins are a team that's going to be on their uh, third string quarterback. Tua's out, and I believe Teddy's out as well. So they're down Skylar Thompson. So they're not exactly inspiring a lot of confidence. I don't really have much else to say other than I feel like Bills are going to go ahead and win. Sorry, that's such an easy one. It'd be a surprise if the Dolphins actually won. That's just because the Bills collapsed. Because you see Josh Allen look like his rookie year and just kind of like do dumbass things like run 40 yards back in the hope that he can make a 10-yard play at the end. But yeah, no, this has to be a Bills win. It'll probably be an ugly game. I don't recommend watching it, but I probably will myself. So, another matchup that's going to get pretty ugly. Most likely, you have the Bengals versus the Ravens. Bengals are another team that seems to be hitting their stride at the right moment. They're only getting better with each week, and the offense seems to be clicking at its best right now. Versus the Ravens, who will not have Lamar Jackson, who have no answer at quarterback because the one that they'll have starting is not good at all. Might not even be practice squad level for all we know. The offense as a whole, we've mentioned this yesterday, is not good, except for Mark Andrews. The line's at least decent, if not good itself. But yeah, no, I don't trust the weapons outside of Mark Andrews. If the Ravens were to win this game, it would be because the defense clicks and is not only able to stop Burrow, but able to limit Jamar Chase to being a non-factor. You'll see that Ravens defense click and make enough plays happen for their offense to do something, or at least for their special teams, especially Justin Tucker, to win them a low-scoring game. But again, I have to believe that the division winner is the one that secures the victory here. What are you being loud about back there, Cat? Why are you being weird? Whatever. The final game of the wild card weekend for the AFC will be the Chargers at Jags. So Chargers at Jags. I don't know. I wanted to say the Chargers as the home team because they have the better record. No, that's not what's going on. This is a difficult one to kind of like try to predict right here. Jacksonville feels like the better team for me, honestly. Just because that coach wasn't being a complete weird, possible idiot in the last week. I don't know. The Jags aren't exactly an amazing team, though. Like Trevor Lawrence has been good, but it's not like he's been without fault. He's still been making some this odd decisions that you'd expect more from the rookie year than from his sophomore year. The wide receiver room is good, but not great. Running back room can't be relied on. Offensive line's terrible. The defense is able to do something though, and on the Chargers side, they're going to be out with Mike Williams won't be playing. It's confirmed that he can't play because of a back injury. That they found that he had uh, a broken bone that wasn't noticed until like was it the second or third X-ray. Yeah, hey, congrats, Chargers doctors, on being so good at your jobs, I guess. But yeah, like I don't know. The Chargers just don't seem like they're necessarily going in strong. Uh, I can't believe in Joe Lombardi playing to Herbert's strengths. Which because Herbert's strengths, like the mobility and the deep passing, are things the Jaguars would hate to have to contend with. But the way Lombardi is likely to call the game will be playing into the Jags' strengths instead. And Herbert hasn't been able to perform as well with Mike Williams off the field. So, uh, yeah, I'm going to go with the Jags winning this game, even though I know they're the underdog according to Vegas. I just, I'm just having trouble believing in the Chargers right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if the if LA won that. Honestly, the team I picked to go to the Super Bowl for the Battle of LA, I'm having a lot of doubts about now. All right, moving on into the wild cards side on the NFC, you'll have the Eagles taking their break, and the Niners versus the Seahawks. The Seahawks kind of have a shot here, just in the case that because they know the 49ers and know their defense, they'd be able to kind of like do something. But I believe, yeah, Seattle has lost both games they've already had against San Francisco, if I'm correct. So let me double check that real quick. The Seahawks schedule. All right, so their first matchup. Sorry. Okay, yeah, they lost their latest matchup as well as their first. Yeah, they lost two times already, and teams that lose against the team twice in the regular season almost never win against them in the playoffs if they actually match up. I I can't believe in the Seahawks really winning this game. It just seems like it should be an easy victory for the 49ers. They're another key for the Seahawks would be like if they actually were to win it because Brock Purdy comes down to earth and stops having this magical year, but I don't know. I just feel like the 49ers can win on defense alone. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and circle San Francisco as the winners for this game. All right, here we got the weirdest game of the weekend. Already talked about it in the preview retrospective. We have the Minnesota Vikings versus the New York Giants. Sorry, the New York Football Giants. Jeez. On Minnesota's side, they have Justin Jefferson. And on New York's side, yeah, no, there's not much else to say about Minnesota beyond Jay Jetta. But yeah, on New York's side, they're well rested thanks to the smart decision to not play their starters in the meaningless Week 18 game, where they were still able to. Uh, they didn't win, did they? But yeah, they didn't win because they faced off against the Eagles, who won that game. But yeah, the Giants still looks good. They came within a one-score margin of the Eagles at the end. The Giants have good enough pieces all around that if they were to limit the Vikings enough, they actually have a good chance of winning. When is this game going to be played? Because it has a huge factor as well. Oh, this is a 4:30 game on Sunday. So Kirk Cousins is going to be playing tired, not to his usual 100% strength. I'm gonna do something wild here. I'm gonna let fate decide how I feel about this game. I'm gonna flip a coin on this. Heads, I believe the Vikings win. Tails, the Giants. There is nothing science or logical about this. The G-men win. Tails was heads. Tails was up. All right, congratulations, New York Giants. You not only managed to get to the playoffs with this one-year turnaround, but go into the divisional round. In all likelihood, though, Minnesota probably has a thing of like Jefferson going for like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns and just grittying his way forward. All right, the next game in the wild card slot for the NFC, and the last will be the ugliest game and another honest. Who knows how it's gonna go? A toss-up kind of game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys. The Bucs are a weird team with a bad coach, an uncertainty at quarterback, and an offense that doesn't play to its strengths. Versus the Cowboys, who are a mediocre team with a question mark on their at the quarterback, and an offense that doesn't always play to its strengths. Both teams have defense that shows up occasionally. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this too much. It's just, man, this one where I feel like if I did a true deep dive on both teams to kind of like understand how they would actually match up with each other, I'd have a better idea. But I'm just going to go ahead and believe that Tampa Bay goes ahead and manages to somehow get the victory at the end. Like Cowboys just collapse and hand the win over to Tom Brady. And the walking cane he might have to use at this point with how old he is. All right, we're going into the divisional round now, where the Kansas City Chiefs and the Eagles will be able to join in on their side of things. Okay, so with how we have things set up right now, we'll have the Kansas City Chiefs facing off against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is going to be Mahomes versus Lawrence as the way a lot of people will look at it. By the way, not a single quarterback from all the quarterbacks playing in the AFC, all their starters that they had at the beginning of the season, at least, are either on their rookie contract or their second contract. The future is here. But yeah, with this matchup, the Chiefs have just honestly probably just have too strong of an offense. The Jacksonville Jaguars only have like a shot if the Chiefs have a defensive collapse that's defensive and special teams collapse that's strong enough that they can make things scary. But I just feel like the Chiefs have a lot more experience. I'm not too confident in like the Jags' abilities to manage things too much. I feel like they bit off more than they can chew at this point, and they just get tossed out as Kansas City strolls their way into the conference championship. Leading the other game to be a rematch for the game that was uh, ended early, as we have the Buffalo Bills versus Cincinnati Bengals. Oh boy, this is a match worthy of a conference championship in most years. Both two highly talented top five quarterbacks on either side. Defenses that are clicking and getting even better. Offenses that are high rolling and seem to be full of steam. This is a heavyweight slugfest of a game. All right, for the Bills offense, Josh Allen should be able to go ahead and do enough of his wildness and like his tricky plays with his mobility to go ahead and get things going for the Bengals. Stephon Diggs will get open enough, but for the Bengals, their offense, like with Joe Burrow and the Jamar Chase connection, no, Joe Burrow and his connection to all of his pass catchers as well as Joe Mixon having like possibly another good game, will be able to go ahead and keep up with pace, if not take the momentum themselves. Both defenses would be able to clamp down at just the right moments. I'm just gonna go ahead and believe in this. Go with the quarterback I think is the better one. Even though the Bills have the better coach, I think Joe Burrow is able to do some super heroics and get the Bengals a victory and a chance to go and their fight against the Chiefs against fight against the Chiefs to try to win the AFC and try to get another shot at the Super Bowl. At the NFC side of things for the divisionals, you'll have the Eagles versus the Giants in this instance. You'll have a NFC East versus NFC East squad, where honestly the Eagles are probably happier that they're facing the Giants instead of the Vikings because the Vikings are such a weird team that no one can understand. Whereas the Giants are a familiar foe who they've been able to beat in all two games, I believe. Let me double check that real quick. All right, here we go. They beat them on week 18 as and they trounced them earlier last month as well. So yeah, like it should be an Eagles victory. There's probably not too much to say about this. It's a strong team with a lot of rest versus a lesser opponent, like a team that's drew a lucky straw in the wild card round. But yeah, that's just how I have to feel about that game. Leaving the other matchup to be the second versus fourth seed or the 49ers versus the Buccaneers. As Tom Brady gets to face the team that he grew up a fan of, as people remind about every time Tom Brady faces the 49ers. Storyline we've heard for over 20 years. But yeah, Tom Brady, I believe, is going to have a lot of issues here. The 49ers defense alone is going to be the deciding factor here. Bucks defense can't stop the 49ers, the Shanahan style of things, and the Bucks offense should get overwhelmed by the 49ers defense. Nick Bosa will go ahead and uh meet Tom Brady more often than Brady has met his own children this whole year, I believe. So yeah, this is a San Fran win. So on the AFC side of things, we'll then end up with the number 1 and number 3 seeds going into the conference championship there. And for the NFC side, we'll have the number 1 and 2 seeds going to conference. So honestly, things are pretty usual, pretty much the norm on that spot. All right, you won't have Andy Reid coming off of the bye week that he always loves and is always good with. But you'll still have a strong Chiefs offense versus the Bengals. And in this instance, I don't think the Chiefs would have liked either opponent they would have to face. Like, they can. Okay, Mahomes and his Magic as well as Kelsey are still going to be throwing any team fits. But I think this does end up being a play where defense is going to be what ends up helping with things. I believe the Chiefs will come up with an early lead. Joe Burrow will get hit a couple of times in the first half. And it'll end up being like in the second half, the Chiefs kind of like try to just try to keep the throttle going. They'll try to keep the foot on the throat and just kind of like keep on playing mercilessly, but slip up because the Bengals defense will catch up and adjust enough to go ahead and make something happen to help the Bengals catch back up, and Joe Burrow will take that and just have things change up on the offensive side as well, and the Bengals end up surprising a lot of people, myself included, and make a repeat trip to the Super Bowl. Thanks to them improving in every aspect they needed to over the offseason and through the season. On the NFC side of things, you'll have the Eagles versus the Niners, as mentioned, which is another. I mean, all of these matchups should be toss up because they're the conference. This is the conference championship at this point. With the Eagles versus the Niners, you have two very powerful teams with no obvious holes, other than like maybe the quarterback is the weakest spot, but it's hard to really say that as necessarily being like a glaring weakness of theirs either. 49ers, where quarterback might actually not matter too much because they can make any fan in the audience a star level quarterback, and the Eagles, who are just filled to the brim with talent. All right, the Eagles offense and the 49ers defense, I feel like, are going to be evenly matched with things. Do we know who's in the Super Bowl yet? Not yet. I'm still working on it. A-Moon, by the way. Uh, man, yeah, I'm just trying to think of this matchup right here. Yeah, the Eagles. Okay, the ground game won't be able to do too much. I believe the ground game side from the things where the Eagles would be kept to the bare minimum by the 49ers defensive line. But at the same time, the Eagles will go ahead and understand that and try to take to the skies and let A.J. Brown go ahead and shred whatever DB is covering him from the 49ers side of things. Whereas the 49ers will have like an offense that's trying to spread the ball around, but yeah, I feel like the Eagles would have a better job covering the 49ers when it comes to this. I just more strongly believe in the Eagles over the 49ers just because of depth at this point. So in the end, I think our Super Bowl matchup is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Man, what a fun Super Bowl that would be. I mean, it would be a fun Super Bowl matchup for a lot of combinations of teams, to be honest. But yeah, I think the Bengals make it to the Super Bowl 2 times in a row. It's just now a matter of like trying to think if like they would be a team that can actually win it all this time, or if they stumble and fall once more. How the Bengals match up against Philadelphia? Okay, I feel like I feel like the Eagles have the types of quarterbacks Joe Burrow would hate the most. Like Jamar, I feel like the Eagles' defensive backfield is actually going to be strong enough to keep Chase out of the game and limit whatever opportunities do come to players like Tyler Boyd and uh, the various other wide receivers they have, as well as Tyler Croft, the tight end. They'll let Joe Mixon do some work against them, but he's not exactly going to be having an easy time scoring me touchdowns himself. While on the other side of things, Philly will be able to go ahead and stop the. Sorry, no, Philly would have like their own attack, kind of like limited a bit by the Bengals defense, but it's not like this will be a low scoring game or should be. Like I have to imagine the total points for this game would be over 50 as well. Like I'd say like somewhere over 54. But mm, I think the big Bengals make it to the Super Bowl 2 years in a row and lose it 2 years in a row as well. I'm marking up the Philadelphia Eagles at this point to be our eventual Super Bowl winner the uh, over the Jungle. And all that smart work done last offseason by Philly and what they're capable of doing now in the offseason to come just lets them stay as a perennial Super Bowl contender. And the Bengals continue to be a story of what could have been a feisty team full of strength, full of so much like swagger, but still needing something more to push them even further over the hump. Congrats on having Joe Burrow, though, who is by all means a top five, if not a top three quarterback in the league. He's going to carry you there to even more chances at the Lombardi. Don't you worry. So yeah, that ends my retrospectives on the AFC and NFC. I will go ahead and have these videos uploaded about the same time, but also this ends the playoff predictions. I am sure this is going to go 100% as I predicted. There won't be any surprises, and I won't have overthought anything. It won't just be like it won't just be Bills versus Eagles or Chiefs versus Eagles, which is it's like more likely to happen. But no. Maybe I'm just letting some things get to my head. Maybe I'm no, I'm definitely letting some things get to my head. I'm definitely gonna be uh dumb about some of these other decisions. It's gonna be just like how bad I was predicting the Saints, or how bad I was predicting the Seahawks. Oh, but yeah. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed this. See you later, YouTube. Hope you have a fantastic day.